Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Love It or Shove It, where we are talking about love and relationship and how do we understand ourselves and our partners better. And if this is the first time you are tuning in, hello and welcome to this beautiful channel. And again, we talk about every topic, something that you might resonate with. And if this is for you, you are definitely going to love it. And if it's not, then you're just going to toss it away or you are going to shove it. And I just want to introduce ourselves. My name is Irina Portnova, and I'm a manifestation star because I help people how to consciously manifest the best love and relationship and how to connect better with yourself and your partner. And I'm here today with my co-host Bruno Gill. Bruno, you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. So my name is Bruno. I'm a self-help coach. I'm also the co-host of this talk show as well. Yeah, so I obviously do a lot of things other than just self-love, but in this case, I'm a self-love coach who helps women become stronger, better, um, more expressive, and more able to um, be stronger in society for themselves, be more authentic, be more fulfilled, be more confident as well, which is one of the most important things, as well, obviously, as your self-love, right? Have more self-worth, have more self-esteem, just to, obviously, because everybody wants that, right? So, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So let's just dive into our topic. The topic today is afraid to rock the boat. And sometimes we are afraid to rock, but it might be already drowning. And this is something that everybody goes through the certain experiences in life. And today we want to talk more about it. What does it mean? Because sometimes when we avoid conflict for the sake of peace, it often leads to disconnection because sometimes we can feel more safe in the silence, but until we start feel that silence actually creates the distance. And when people avoid the conflict to keep the peace, uh, we are actually protecting the moment but losing the connection. And the truth is that peace without honesty isn't peace at all, because then we suppress our emotions, we suppress expressing ourselves to the fullest, and we start just making the assumptions and we just kind of live in our head rather than coming from our heart. So over time, that quiet turns into the resentment, and love begins to fade not from chaos, but actually from that silence that people are not really talking what is on their heart. So, something that I would love to invite everybody to think about, do the reflection. And in reflection, to ask yourself, am I keeping peace or am I keeping quiet out of fear? Right? Because a lot of times people want to avoid the arguments because they are afraid to rock the boat, meaning that the other partner might get mad or angry. And, like people are afraid to end the relationship. But the way I look at it, the strong relationship is going to last. And if somebody is weak and somebody is waiting how to blame the partner for something, that is something that is not worthy of any worry. Okay, Bruno, you want to say something towards that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for example, if you're afraid that the relationship is going to be over or is that going to have massive consequences because you're going to have an argument, then the relationship is already over. Like, whether it's something terribly bad or amazingly good, you should be 100% comfortable with telling your partner, because you know that your partner can potentially have the good things to say, or maybe something that you're not expecting, but ultimately, you should be able to say it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
it's a bit of a shame that a lot of these standards, a lot of times, like people don't even believe they can have them. Um, because it's like when we say you should be able or you must be able or whatever, it's like, yeah, in theory yes, but a lot of people are not able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because I feel like whether it's every girl or every single boy, oh my god, I want to have this relationship when I'm an adult, oh my god this, oh my god that, it's like life fucks you over so many times until you become an adult, and then when you're an adult, that you completely forget what you wanted as a kid. And when you do, it becomes more of a fantasy than really a reality. And then sometimes when people are able to get that, they fuck things up, right? Because they're more in love with the emotion of the fantasy than to actually turn it into reality, right? Like that idea of like that idea of loving the idea of being in love, which is completely different than wanting to be in love, right? And so obviously, when we put this in the sense of, um, are you afraid to rock the boat, or is a relationship already drowning, right? It's like people who lie are afraid, right? Liars, they fear the truth. They either fear the truth or they fear that people will know the truth, so they lie, right? As a kid, you'd lie to your mother or your father, right? Because you're afraid that if they find out the truth, you're gonna get whooped, you're gonna be punished, you're gonna be whatever. Because if you knew you wouldn't get whooped, if you knew you wouldn't be punished, you'd say the truth without giving a damn, without caring. And that's the same thing, in relationships, in friendships, in work, right? People tell the same lie every single day, every single hour, minute, second of the day, because not only it's convenient for them, right? But also because it helps them protect their ego and their pride and their guilt, or their potential guilt and the potential shame of having to admit the truth to themselves. Now, why does all of this relate to what we're talking about? Because the reality is, at some point, we all have to admit ourselves the truth. The problem is, the more you lie to yourself, the more pleasurable it feels, right? The safer it feels as well, and it's a quick escape, right? It becomes something that just comes out of your mouth very fast. Oh no, that's not true. Oh, don't say that. You start to push away the truth more, because the more you start lying to yourself, the more you also push away the truth, right? Because you're also teaching yourself that you cannot handle the truth because you lie to yourself so much, right? So when you put in your head, well, maybe I could say the truth, but now I can't because I lied so much to myself as well, and I have digged a hole, right? So down the floor, I can't even get out of it myself. So I'm going to have to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again, because the shame and the guilt that I will feel is going to be so much bigger after all these lies. Plus, my ego is going to be destroyed. But the truth will always be the truth. Just because you can't admit it doesn't stop it to be true. It just stops you from admitting that it's true, but it's still true. Generally, it's true. Now, again, how does this make sense? It makes sense because the relationship is already drowning. It doesn't matter how much you put into it. It doesn't matter how much you love it. It doesn't matter how much uh, you lie
Oh,
in
we
the
can't
dreams,
hear you.
in the, in the dreams and the inspirations of it, of the actual how it felt the relationship before. The relationship is drowning. The relationship is drowning, right? And you either try to accept that and you try to fix that it's drowning, or you keep lying to yourself and you get to a point where there is nothing you can do, right? Somebody has to make a move. And if one person makes a move and the other person does not correspond to that move, you fuck off of that relationship. That's it. There's no in between. Like, I like to see love as very black and white. Actually, I like to see love as very rainbow. I love to see like love as very rainbow because there's so many things in this world where it's yes or no, results or not, so many things, right? But in a situation like this, it's very black and white. It's very yes or no. You either try to fix a relationship or you keep lying to yourself until there's nothing else to fix. And if you try to do that, right, or if you try to fix a certain or similar situation like this, and the other person does not correspond to it, the other person keeps on trying to do the same thing as the person has done over and over and over and over again, right? Then you fuck off out of it. That's what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna pass the mic to Irina, which obviously.
Yeah, you know what? When we talk on these topics, I would invite to bring some compassion because, again, everybody's judging from their own perspective. But when we are talking to the audience, I just wanted to say that we were never trained how to handle ourselves or our relationships, right? That's why if somebody is really looking into going deeper into understanding how the
Mm,
dynamics in the relationship is working, and the way I look
yeah,
at it, every day people have to choose themselves. Their partners, right? This is the work. The
yeah,
love and relationship is one of the fields, one of the areas where it's a constant work, whether you like it or not. So there is no such a thing
absolutely.
as okay, you are with that amazing person, now you're just relaxing and you're not putting out the work that you're supposed to put in, right? So I believe that
Hmm.
everybody is responsible for their part to keep that relationship together. And that's why the most
Mm,
important thing is communication. The most important thing is just to be real and do not play games, but kind of face the truth and talk with each other, right?
good.
That's why we say that a lot of times these unspoken needs, they might turn into the emotional distance over time, because when people do not communicate, when they're just sitting in their feelings and in their heads, they stop
Mm,
expressing what really they feel or what they really want, and the
mm,
partner can't meet them, right? So they start to
mm.
sense that withdrawal without understanding why, and they
Yeah.
might end up feeling unseen. So it's very important to really acknowledge these things and understand that there is no such a thing. If people are in the relationship, there is a commitment, there is a work to be done, and there is the time when people have to sit down and attend to each other needs rather than just hiding
Mm,
and be silent. So this is
mm,
my point of view. Bruno, what do you want to
yeah.
add?
No, I mean I agree with what you're saying. You absolutely need to have compassion for people, but it's just that in my experience that compassion kind of got used. Like in my experience, that compassion got used by other people who thought it was funny to, it's like I see myself as a high value man. Okay, I do. People might think that's arrogant, and I really couldn't give a shit, which probably would prove that I'm arrogant. I don't care. Um, but like, I feel like in my case, what I've seen was girls who their fantasy is to tame an uncontrollable beast, and then he's the best because he's uncontrollable. Oh my god! And then that happens, and then obviously the guy softens up. In this case, me, and then they take it for granted, right? They take it for granted. They think they can say whatever they want. They think they can reject me. I don't know how many times, because the guy will always come back, right? Um, and for you to be able to do that, for you to be able to express compassion, there has to be a side of you that wants to believe that they deserve another chance, the next chance, right? Because people are always growing, or because people are always this, or because people are always that. Some people, they don't want to grow. Some people, they just want to use you. Some people are just monsters, and that's what it is, right? And like in this case, right? In this case, that's what happened with me. That's why, like, I try to be very careful to who I give my compassion to. In the case of, for example, like um, a relationship where things are fucked, they're drowning, everything is gone. Nobody wants to admit to themselves that everything is going to shit. Um, and and when that happens, you have two people living a completely delusional reality where everything is drowning. And I'm not like that. Like I'm a very logical, real. I can dream, I can fantasize, of course I can, but I'm very realistic, and I'm a very logical person as well. And when I see that something is not working, in my head I'm not like, oh, it's okay, it only happened once, ha ha ha, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's okay. I'm not gonna take that serious. I take everything serious. I take everything serious. I notice everything that happens because I'm very logical, and I'm very aware, and I have a very detail oriented. I'm very detail oriented to that attention, to that kind of attention. And that compassion, I'm a very compassionate person. Yes, I am, but I need to be. I always had to be very careful why I give that compassion to, because ultimately, what happens is that people just take advantage of you, right? And in this case, even recently, it happened with me as well. It's like, so again, it's like, I mean, um, for women is very different than for men, right? But from my experience, is like, to chase a situation that is drowning, whether if it is in dating, friendships, whether if it is in a love, in work, is stupid, because you ask the question once, and once only. And if the person is playing games with you fuck the person off. Because the reality is this: if you put yourself in the middle and you keep giving chances and you keep giving hope and you keep giving this and you keep giving that, what happens is that you get caught in the crossfire and they're taking bullets and you take the bullets as well for something that is not even your problem, right? So again, things are drowning. You either make the person aware that whatever they have together are drowning, or you just fuck off, because you'll drown as well. Because you will drown as well, mate. The Titanic drowned. The Titanic sank, right? And I don't care how you see. Oh, but our relationship was always so strong. The Titanic sunk, and your relationship will sunk as well, unless you both try to make a difference. But if you're aware of it and the other person is not, or the person knows that you're expecting some kind of different reaction or different attitude towards something to show that their behavior is different, and the person doesn't have the balls and the courage and the bravery to do that, well, they can go fuck off, because then they don't deserve their compassion. Because if it was the other way around, you'd probably do that, right? So if they can't do that, they can fuck off. Then that's it, done. Period. Like,
You know what?
this is
I yes, I wanted to
yeah, go
add
ahead.
that sometimes, yes, sometimes the situation is one-sided because you only see your truth and you do not see the other person's side. And that's what happens a lot of times because
Fair
we
point.
are, like we are ourselves. And obviously, who else are we going to protect? We are going to protect ourselves first.
Of course.
So sometimes
And
it
that's what I'm
takes
saying, though. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, and sometimes it takes the courage to step back and do not be you to evaluate the situation, but stand by as the observer and objectively look at the situation from a different perspective because everything is in the perspective, right? Again, the
Mm,
same situation can be interpreted differently by different people, and
mm,
somebody is going to have their truth, another person is going to
yeah,
have their truth. So, in order
exactly.
to see the situation more objectively rather than subjectively. That's
Mm.
what the personal development is for. When we are learning that we have to not be involved in the situation, but rather
Yeah.
learn how to step back and be the observer without
Mm.
putting any judgment to situation. Then
Yeah.
that's when the clarity comes, and then when we can see and really understand what's going on behind it, right? So
Yeah.
this is something that I love to talk about. This is something I teach others because this is something I'm also walking my talk. That's exactly how it is. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to give one great tool when people are in disagreement, how to express the truth without the fear, without the blame, without the guilt. And
Yeah.
what is the best way to communicate? Because again, people can have beautiful hearts, but if they do not know how to communicate, that's something that is going to be repeating in any relationship that these people are facing. So the
Absolutely.
first one is start with calm energy. Always advisable breathe before speaking. So before opening the mouth, take a deep breath. And when
Mm.
emotions rise, the nervous system activates that protection mode, right? So that's why when we are breathing, it actually resets our energy. So we are not
Mm.
speaking from that reactivity energy, but more with intention. For instance, instead of walking in angry, it would be great just to pause and remind ourselves, I want connection, not control. The next
Mhm.
step would be use the word I feel instead of you always, because
Mm.
this keeps conversation safe. When
Mm.
people start blaming, it actually triggers defensiveness, so that
Mm.
ownership builds the trust. So when we
Mm.
are saying you always ignore me, that puts your partner on guard. But when we
Mm.
say I feel disconnected when we don't talk much lately, that
Mm.
actually opens space for understanding instead of resistance. And again, it's all practice, right? The more we practice, the better it shows up for us. Then we want to name that truth gently. Uh, we say I need, this is just something that you want to express, because when we say you should, it actually rooted in control. So one invites partnership when we say I need, and the other breeds pushback. Instead of saying
Mm.
you should make more effort, try to say I need more quality time together to feel close, because that softens and it's honest, and the tone actually does matter as well, right? And
Mm.
then we pause to listen, because connection actually is something that happens in both directions. Many people think communication is about talking, but in
Mm.
truth it's more about listening, right? It's listening to
Mm.
understand, not to respond. So when we pause, we signal that safety. Sorry, we are not attacking, we are actually inviting. For
Yeah.
instance, we can say, after sharing your feeling, um, after sharing our feeling, we can say, I really want to hear how you see it too, right? Because again, we all live from our perception of the world, but we want to understand the perception of our partner. And we also want to end with reassurance, because we want to say that I'm sharing this because I care about us. We always want to close the conversation with love. This is the emotional anchor that reminds our partner that this is not about blame, it's about the connection. And again,
Mhm.
these things can be learned, these things can be trained, as long as people are open, and as long as people want to really master these skills, because like I said, this is something that help us to live our life much better,
Mm.
much easier, and really learn how to connect and understand each other rather than just keep the guard up, keep the walls up, and just, like live in our own isolated truth. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to
Absolutely.
share. Bruno, do we want to add something to that before we close?
Um, yeah, you're talking about like self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I actually, it was really funny because before I came here, I did some,
Mm-hmm.
which was really nice as well. Some little self-reflection about certain situations. And yes, like sometimes it's very good, like when you put, like you were saying as well, like when you put yourself in the observer mode,
Mm-hmm.
you detach yourself from the situation, you look at what happened from both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of evaluate it from a neutral standpoint. So you look at your behavior, you look at her behavior, you try to understand her behavior, you try to understand your behavior, and that's it, and that's very good because ultimately, no matter what happens, it's always what you focus on that grows. If you focus on the lesson, you'll get more. If you focus on the pain of it, you'll get more. If you focus on
Mm-hmm.
the anger of it, you'll get more. Right? If you focus on, the fact that now, because you learned it, you'll never go through it again. Right? Because you're not gonna make the
Mm-hmm.
same mistake again. That wouldn't make much sense. Right? Because
Absolutely.
now you can try and know what to do. Right? Now it's really
Mm-hmm.
nice, when that happens. But then again, it's like um, sometimes because it's like this is a relationship topic, but at the end of the day, it's a relationship topic if both people agree to fix their problems. Because if not, this becomes a self-love topic where
Mm-hmm.
now it's all about you. Fuck the rest. Focus on your shit. Because if you don't, you're gonna drown with that, right? And you're gonna get caught on the crossfire. And you're gonna get hurt because you did not know when to choose yourself, right? Um, and that's what it is, right? So ultimately, um, yeah, ultimately, it just comes down to a situation where you need to think about yourself as much as you possibly can. If the relationship does work, then fantastic, you know. But there has to be some sort of like there has to be some sort of, I wouldn't say idea, but more like there has to be some sort of consensus, right? Like a consensus, right? Like a mutual
Mm-hmm.
agreement, let's say,
Yeah.
that it's all fucked up and we either fix this shit or nothing gonna work because yeah.
Yes, totally. So, like I said, a relationship is, like, why do you think a lot of people focus on work or on career? Because it's easy to manage, right?
Of
And
course.
when it comes to the relationship, it's ongoing work. And no matter how aware we are, there is always something, right? It's always something to, like when we face the situation differently, when our partner reacts differently. So the idea is if we just staying curious and be more scientists than judges, when like we start
Mm,
judging ourselves, we start judging other people, what it's supposed to look like, when we kind of like shed off all these expectations, but just look at the experience that it is what it is, and just ask ourselves what can we learn and how we can grow from that. I think that
mm,
perception actually make us more connected to each other, and really opening up more possibilities for the future.
mm. True, true, true. I can
All
agree.
right.
Yeah.
So great episode, everybody. We would love you to share with somebody, because I'm sure everybody goes through that stage at one point in the life, because that's the part of our human experience. So share this episode and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week. And we would love to know what you thought about it. All right, all the best, and we'll see you on the next episode.